And Governor Kay Ivey has amended her safer at home order, and more businesses are set to reopen. Starting Friday, tomorrow, entertainment venues like theaters, casinos, and more can reopen. Educational facilities, summer camps, and daycares will operate with safety guidelines. And sports activities can restart, but competitions and games can't take place until after June 14th. When asked why the order is being expanded amid a rising number of cases, here's what the governor had to say.
Well, you've got to have a balance between looking after the people's health and also the economic health. There has to be a balance.
And the state made a deal with Apple and Google to use their contact tracing apps for those who've had COVID or have been exposed. The order goes into effect tomorrow and runs through July 3rd.